So here's going to be a brief tutorial on how to use Photoshop to create a PNG file out of any other image. PNG files are great because there is a transparent background, which means you can layer the PNG files on top of any other image or film footage you want. To start off with, before we get started, let's talk about how to get your picture into Photoshop to begin with. You can download from the internet or from your camera or anything that you like. Grab the image and just drop it on top of the Photoshop icon and it will open it as a Photoshop file. You notice over here it says background with a little lock. You want to create a layer out of this so that you can actually edit in there. To do that, you can either right click and select layer from background or just double click on it. If you want to name the layer you can, you don't need to. Click OK. Now it's a layer. It's also unlocked so that you can do what you want to with the file, and it will allow you to make those changes.
Let's start with the basic one. Here's a sign. I pulled this down off the internet. Say you want to put this sign over the top of a grassy field or a cloudy sky or what have you. You want to get your magic wand tool, which is over here on your toolbar. Click on that. You have your fancy little magic wand. I want to get rid of this white field, so I click on it. You see the dotted line, and if I hit delete, it disappears and is replaced by that checkerboard. That means that it's an invisible field, that if I now put this image over the top of another one, you'll be able to see it through here. Let's get rid of the rest of these. Click. If I hold shift and click again, I can pick multiple fields. I've got them all selected that I want to get rid of. Delete, and there you go. Now I can come up here and just save that image. You want to make sure as you save an image that you save it as a PNG file. Can't save it as a JPEG because then that checkerboard will be replaced by the white again and you won't be able to layer it. Make sure it's a PNG file. Name it whatever you'd like and a save. Now that image is prepared and I could layer it on top of something else if I wanted to. Sometimes you have an image that's not quite that easy to layer. If I click magic wand, obviously that's not going to work over Caitlin's face. And I want to get all of her. So if I hold down on the magic wand, I have the quick selection tool. It basically works the same way, but you can fine-tune what you select. If I just click, it looks at everything that's the same color and selects it. If I click and drag, I can do that, and now you see she's all outlined. If I were to go over the edge and get something that I didn't want, say that I'd gotten that, if I hold down the option key, you see I hold down option, it turns from a plus to a minus. Go back over here and click. If you click one click at a time, you can be really sensitive about what you keep and what you get rid of. There's a little bit right there that I want to get rid of, so I'll click there. And that's about the image that I want. So now, instead of hitting delete, whoops, let's click and do the Control Z to bring her back. If I come up here, go to select inverse. Now it's going to take everything else. I can hit delete and it gets rid of it, and now I've got Caitlin all by herself.
99% of the time you will be able to use either the quick selection tool or the magic wand tool to make your selections, creating a PNG file. For that last 1% of the time, you use the actual masking function that's a part of Photoshop. You get to that down here with this little card with the hole punched in it. I used this when I used this deer on a cave drawing picture that I used in the blended instruction video. Using quick selection, I was able to isolate just the deer and create it as a PNG file. But then we're going to need to create separate files so that I can isolate the legs and make the deer look like it's running. That's going to involve 3 separate PNG files. One of them will be the deer's body without the legs, a separate PNG file for the back legs, and a third for the front legs. Let's zoom in on the deer. I can do that by holding down the command button and hitting the plus sign on the upper right of the keyboard. Now I have the deer right where I want him. I'm looking at what I need. If I click this little masking tool, you see it creates a new mask layer right there.
And then you come over here to your pen tool. I'm going to just isolate the deer's body right now. So one click will start your selection. Now I'm just going to cruise around the edge of this guy. I'm going to do it relatively fast because this is not going to be used on a project. Just go around the edge, and you can use that Command plus function to get as tight as you want to, all the way down to 1 pixel. You can be really specific with the selection that you're using. And you see that when I get to the legs, I'm just kind of skirting around them. There's the tail, and when I click back on my start point, it closes that line. You can see a faint little line around there where my selection is. Now if I right click on that line and select to create a vector mask, bang, the legs are gone. And then I can save that as deer body as a PNG file, and it will keep it for me. If I go all the way back up here in my history pane and click on the original image again, it's like hitting Control Z a million times to get back to my start point. I can do the same thing to isolate the back legs and the front legs. You can see I've already done that. I had the front legs, the back legs, no legs, and there's my deer. So that then when I take it into Final Cut, I'll be able to use each one of these PNG files separately and use motion to create the image that the deer is running in place. There's your basics on how to remove an image from its background and create it as a PNG file that you can use anywhere that you want to. Now I'm going to show you how you can use this tool to layer images into one more complex image. For starters, here we have our pirate point of view anchors, and we also have this news desk. We're going to use a couple of layers to put the anchors behind the news desk. To start off with, we will use the quick selection tool to highlight Alex and Chandler and remove them. I've taken the liberty of doing that already. You've got them right over here in my folder. Then we'll use the same tool to remove the desk from the front of the Weekend Update newsroom. Get everything that I need. You'll see that I've gotten a little bit more than I need, so if I hold down the Option key and drag it over that, I can get rid of it and clean it up so that I'm only using what I want. There we go. It's kind of a dance back and forth of holding down the Option key to get rid of things and then using the un-optioned version to take stuff back. So then I will create the inverse of that and get rid of it, and then I will save it as the desk front as a PNG file. I got it. So now if let's just backspace to the desk itself. I use this history pane a lot. If you don't have it up on your Photoshop, you can get to it from the window tool. History, it shows you all the steps that you've taken. It saves you from doing several Control Z's because it has everything that you can have done for the several steps. I think all the way back to the beginning when you open the file. So now you have your weekend update. Let me come over and drag my anchors on top of that image. And by holding down the Shift key and clicking on the corner, I can size it down while keeping the scale that I want. And I'll position them about where I think they're going to be behind the news desk. Hitting Enter will cement them in place there. And now I come back and get the desk front that we just made and drop it on top of them. It's already sized the same as the background because they had the same dimensions and everything. So unless I'm changing the size of either one of them, I don't need to adjust that at all. And now I've got them behind the news desk looking fly and professional. Once you've created your PNG files and pulled them into Final Cut, you can use them with video to create the effects that you want. Here's a couple of examples of how we did that in some of the scenes that we both did and didn't use for the blended instruction video. This is a Picasso painting, and in Photoshop we removed the red and created that as a separate PNG file. so that when we put it in Final Cut and put Andrew in, it looks as though he's moving around inside the painting behind the red screen, looking around and trying to find his way. And that's one option. Then we took this Whistler's Mother's painting. Using the quick selection tool, we took Whistler's Mother out and created a separate layer, used the painting as a backdrop, then placed Andrew in front of that and Whistler's Mother in front of him.
Technology's exciting! Hello?
And created one of my favorite deleted scenes from the blended instruction video. Here's another one that we didn't use, of Mr. Hitler standing behind his podium. By virtue of the fact that this is a still shot, the podium didn't move. So we were able to take a screen capture of this image, plug that into Photoshop, and remove the flowers and podium to create as a separate layer. So again, we have the clip itself as a bottom layer, and then Andrew as a middle layer, and the flowers and podium in front. So as the end result, we have a heckler on stage with Mr. Adolf.
So there you go, your tutorial on how to use the Magic Wand tool, the Quick Selection tool, and the masking function to create PNG files in Photoshop for use in After Effects and Final Cut Pro. Hope this is a useful tutorial for you. If you have any questions about it, you can get in touch with me by email or in person. And thank you very much for your time and attention.